Alrighty, good evening, everyone. So thank you to President Trump for finishing his speech right as I was getting ready to go live. So thank you for that. I listened to most of the speech. I don't know if you guys listened to it or not, but I listened to the majority of it. I did have to go take a shower, and I missed about maybe 20 minutes or so of it. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good speech, right? As far as data centers are concerned, they can now have their own power, build their own nuclear power plants, natural gas power plants, whatever they want, right? So they can go on doing that. That's what he's pushing there for. Other things I'm not going to get into because I don't want to get political, but there were some things I liked, very few things that I didn't like. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good speech nonetheless here, okay? As far as today, miners were pumping like crazy today, which was great to see. We had also Bitcoin going down. We had obviously possibility of Jane Street stopping the manipulation there on Bitcoin today. We'll talk about that. They're also getting not sued. Maybe it is sued. Maybe that's not the right term for it, but they're being accused of market manipulation in the Terra Luna debacle that was back in 2022. We'll cover that shortly as well. Cipher reported their quarterly results. Cipher did, well, kind of what I expected, right? It wasn't great results, but they are getting out of Bitcoin mining. They're going to be mining Bitcoin probably through 2027. I think June or July is when their PPA ends for one of their sites. Other than that, they're already way down on their hash rate. I think they're down to like 11 exahash as it is. We'll talk about it obviously as well. What else do we have here? We got some good news for Bitfarms, and I think that's it. Some good news stories as well for Bitcoin here. And I think my personal belief here is that Bitcoin has bottomed out. We'll talk about it though. Okay, let's get into it here. You guys know the drill. The full disclosure below that as always. And then if you would be so kind and polite and happy to do so, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out. All right, let's take a look at what's going on here with the markets. So obviously the markets did okay today. They were up almost 1% overall across the board there. 0.75% to 1% overall. Bitcoin today was down a little bit. It was down 0.86%, and now we're bouncing in Bitcoin as well tonight, which is kind of nice. We were up to like over 2%, 2.5%, something like that. We've pulled back a little bit here, but it's at least bouncing, so that's a good sign here, okay? The reason I think that we might have bottomed out here is for a couple of reasons, which we'll get into in a minute as well, but looking at the RSI on the weekly, this is the lowest we've been here in a long time on that one as well. It's come up a little bit here today, but at the bottom where we bottomed out here today, we were much lower on the RSI. We were actually lower than previous COVID crash that we had in 2022, right? Then Terra Luna stuff as well, part of it. We were much lower on the RSI at this point right now as it is. So I'm sticking my neck out. I'm thinking this is the bottom on it. We'll see if that is correct going forward here, but I think we bottomed out here. Ethereum today also was down. It's down a little bit more on the new day for it as well. It was down 0.43% here. But the miners, oh my gosh, they had a fantastic day today. Maybe things are starting to change for us. Maybe, it sure looks like it, at least for the time being, but we've seen this before where they were pumping and then they got dumped later on here. So we'll take the green days. It's great to see that we are having those green days, and we'll take them. But Bitfarms was up today nicely to 7.84%. Continuation of where we were yesterday, right? We were up a little bit on that one as well. We were up just 0.5%. Bitdeer was up. Oops, what happened there? Why did that go over here? Oh, there. Bitdeer was up 4.49%. Kango was up also a little bit, 2.98%. Cipher at one point was up like 15%. Closed at 12.48%, being to the upside here. Cleanspark was up 5.4%. This one was also up like at 8% at one point during the day. So we were having two nice days here on a lot of these guys bouncing. CORZ was even up 5.8% today. Hive was up 5.21%. Hut 8 up another 9.55% there. IREN was up also 7.29%. Had a great day there. It's now battling with the 50 SMA on it. Mara today was up a little bit, 2.2%. Nibius was up another 1.96% from yesterday as well. And then Riot was up 5.43%. And Wolf reached a new 52-week high on this one, getting to a high of $18.03 today. So that one is doing really, really well there, being up 11.99%. Some of the other companies here, MicroStrategy, actually with Bitcoin being down, ended up being in the green here, just a little bit, almost 0.75% there. Galaxy was up nicely, 5.81%. We had Block being up. We had Coin being up as well. Metaplanet was down. Exodus was up a little bit. Nexum was up a little bit as well. Phoenix flat, basically. GameStop was up a little bit. And then the small miners did pretty good overall. Any being up 11.5% there. Canon being up 16% on the day. This one had a nice day today. Very nice day, actually. Bitcoin miner ETFs had a good day also, 4.5%, 5%, 4.25%, and then 7.5% roughly. That was great to see. Ethereum also, holding companies here were in the green today. Overall, with Ethereum being in the red here, so maybe things are starting to turn around for us. Maybe. We'll see. BNR was up. BitDigital was up as well. BTCS was up nicely, 6.67% there. Game was up a little bit along with SBET. And then other companies that we track here, American Bitcoin was up 4.65%. That got to a new low today of 92 cents and a half roughly. Wi-Fi was up 3.6%. Open was up 6.9. Oracle was up 3.4. Soluna was up 3.8. Bakkt and ASD were both down. Fermi was up nicely today, 11.92%. This one maybe has bottomed out here at 718 for the low on it, maybe. They reported also, when are they reporting earnings? They're reporting Wednesday. Is today Wednesday? Today's Tuesday. They're reporting tomorrow, looks like, possibly. But that one obviously spiked up there. Meta was up a little bit. Google was down. Amazon and Microsoft and Nvidia, along with Tesla and EOS, were all in the green there, and UAI was in the red here. So Bitcoin for the month of February right now is still down 16%. I doubt we're going to be able to wipe out those losses here in the next couple of days before the month ends. But it might be just, well, it might be a good thing that we're in the red here. We'll get 5 months in a row of being in the red here. If that holds and history repeats itself, we could have a pretty good stretch of another 5 months of being in the green here and actually having pretty nice gains there at that point for Bitcoin. So that would be okay. I'd be okay with that. I'm sure you guys will be okay with it as well. As far as the Bitcoin ETF inflows, outflows here, if we look at that for today, we had positive inflows of 178 million without IBIT reporting there. And getting into the news side of things here, this is part of the reason why I think we have bottomed out as well. This, on top of everything else that we've seen here in the last couple, I would say maybe 2 weeks, the signs are pointing that like this is possibly the bottom here in Bitcoin. But this is, Bitcoin has hit its bear market bottom exactly 23 months after the all-time high in every single cycle. We are sitting at 23 months right now. This has never failed. Well, if it never has failed, it's more than likely, well, it could fail this time around, but I don't think it's going to fail here, not only because of this, but because of also the weekly RSI is so low on it right now. Bitcoin is just looking to be way, way oversold right now. So I think the bottom is in. Okay, that, and then we have this. Obviously, Bitcoin just made history, but it's not something we all wanted. Bitcoin weekly RSI just reached its lowest level in history. We talked about that here just a couple seconds ago. Lower than the tariffs crash, lower than the FTX crash, lower than the COVID crash, lower than the 2018 bottom, lower than the Mt. Gox hack. This means in the history of Bitcoin, it has never been this oversold, which I agree. I think this is it, which isn't too bad because the bottom that we reached around, what was it, 60,000 or so, was basically a 50% correction from Bitcoin where it got to 120 some thousand. So that is actually pretty good. Historically, we would have been down even more, 70, 80% from the top. So it is a different cycle altogether here. And as long as we hold the 60,000 mark here going forward, I think we'll be okay. I think we'll have maybe a nice little rebound going into the next 3 quarters of the year, potentially. We'll see if that's the case here. We also have maybe Jane Street not being a pain in the rear for us here. But here's what we do have here. So as far as Jane Street is concerned here, they told you that Terra Luna collapsed because of a death spiral, right? If you go back to 2022, we talked about it at that point. But now a lawsuit suggests something else, and it names Jane Street. 150 million was withdrawn, 85 million pulled right after. Was the 22 bear market just panic, or was Jane Street already ahead of it? Let that sink in. So I don't know how do I explain this? You have to read into the court proceedings with Terra Luna there on the bankruptcy side of things, and the guy that's running Terra Luna, or somebody that's in there, is basically accusing Jane Street of market manipulation. And that they obviously had insider information potentially, and they drove Terra Luna down, UST down as well on top of it. So this is from an article here. It looks like Jane Street accused of insider trading that helped collapse Terraform. The court appointed, here it is. The court appointed administrator of Duquan's Terraform Labs alleged that Jane Street used non-public information from Terraform insiders to trade. Obviously, the outcome is what it is. We know what that happened. So that's kind of interesting there. And then we have this here. Weird how a day after Jane Street got exposed, there's no 10 a.m. slam on Bitcoin, which is kind of true. We have seen that in the last couple days, weeks, months, maybe even, where 10 o'clock shows up and we would have a slam on Bitcoin there. So it is kind of a coincidence, I guess you could say. How much you believe in that is the case, I don't know, right? It could be the case all along. We've been talking about market manipulation here, and this could be definitely it. But for the first time in 2 months, a full day of Bitcoin trading without a motivated seller, taking out the entire bid stack in one trade to crush momentum. Amazing how that works. Yeah, amazing, right? So it'll be interesting to follow this one to see what comes out of this, if anything. But if they were manipulating the market there, they should be probably in jail for that reason. But I saw another tweet that was similar to, well, not similar to this. It was talking about Jane Street and how Sam Bankman-Fried, others that were in FTX were from Jane Street. They had experience in Jane Street, or they were working for Jane Street. But that's kind of interesting there as well. All right, next here, really quick, is CoreWeave is seeking $8.5 billion in new debt from Meta AI build-out. I think Meta also signed a deal with AMD today. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I thought I saw it was like $100 billion of chips that's going to be buying from AMD there, right? But Bloomberg reports CoreWeave is looking to raise approximately $8.5 billion from banks, including Morgan Stanley, to finance expanded AI cloud capacity tied to Meta there. So Meta deal. So great job by CoreWeave getting the Meta deal there as well. Don't know what that all entails here. I'll have to look more into it, but nonetheless, this is great news for the space here. We continue to see a lot of expenditures, or a lot of buying of infrastructure, buying of chips. All that stuff is still continuing on here. This is a war for AI supremacy. It's not going to stop anytime soon. And then this is from our friend here, McNally Money, and planners okay with Bitfarms Panther Creek Complex, Bitfarms Keel. I cannot pronounce this. Nesquequi Hunting. Planners okay Bitfarms Complex. This is for the Panther Creek location here. Excuse me. And this is the way the data centers would be laid out here, looks like. You got building A, building B, building C, and building D over here. And I can't read the rest of the stuff. It's too scrunched up. But at least the planners there are okay with the complex. So that's one positive sign going forward for Bitfarms here. And that is it. But yeah, I think, knock on wood, I think Bitcoin might have bottomed out here in the last week or two. And from this point on, we might chop a little sideways, trade sideways. Eventually, we will go up here for a number of reasons that I've obviously discussed here. Okay. All right, let's get into Cipher here. Cipher obviously provided, I wouldn't say it was an okay report. We kind of knew that because of their revenue still being tied to Bitcoin here. In the fourth quarter, Bitcoin was obviously coming down in price. Network hash rate was going up. We knew that the revenue was going to be coming down here. The good thing is that they, well, recently at least, sold out of their JV, joint venture, on 3 of their sites, Alvarez, Bear, and Chief, which I thought was great because I never liked JVs. They always muddy the waters there a little bit. But it's great that they're getting out of that. We also found out that they will be selling opportunistically the HODL that they do have in Bitcoin over time. So they're keeping an eye on where Bitcoin is. They obviously want to get a little bit better deal on Bitcoin price. As it moves up, they will continue to sell. They have over 1,000 Bitcoin, I think, still left. That will be obviously sold off here in the next year, I'm guessing. And they are still mining Bitcoin with about 11 exahash hash rate right now as it is. That will continue probably through 2027, sometime in the summer months, where they're one of their sites that has a PPA in place for a very, very low cost of electricity. That ends at that point, and at that point, I think they'll be done with Bitcoin mining, and as they are going full steam ahead here for data centers, for AI, compute, all of that stuff here, which is great. That was really what drove the stock there today, along with others, I think, is just on the news there. And they also rebranded, right? They are now Cipher Digital instead of Cipher Mining. So they are completely pivoting from Bitcoin mining into AI here. All right. As far as highlights here, so finance operational highlights here, rebranded from Cipher Mining to Cipher Digital, which is great, reflecting the company's pivot from Bitcoin mining to HPC data center deployment or development. They secured 600 megawatt gross of total contracted HPC capacity to date across 2 leases, a 15-year 300 megawatt lease with AWS, and a 10-year 300 megawatt lease with FluidStack and Google there. Completed 3 bond offerings to finance HPC data center buildouts for aggregate proceeds of $3.73 billion. And then Barber Lake Data Center developments is progressing on track with 95% of long lead equipment secured and all current design milestones achieved, which is great. And then Black Pearl Data Center development is on schedule with engineering, procurement, and construction activities underway. Q4 2025 revenue of 60 million and adjusted net loss of 55 million there. Kind of came in line. I had them at like 62 million for Bitcoin mining revenue there. I was off by like 5% on it. I could never dial in Cipher for all the years I've been reporting on them. It's always whether, I don't know if they're just sometimes selling at different times because I'm using the average Bitcoin price for the month there, but if they're selling at better times, then obviously they can generate a little bit more, or they can generate a little bit less, or it could be also just the headache with the JVs there as well. What's causing me grief? Maybe. Don't know. Looking at their business presentation here, business update for February 2024 here, not 2024, 24th of 2026 here. We can see the transition of the business, right? Evolution of compute infrastructure platform, long-term lease generate a stable and predictable cash flows, best-in-class tenants, which is true there. Bitcoin mining exit strategy completed, sale of non-core Bitcoin mining data centers, Bitcoin inventory to be monetized over time, and strategic expansion personnel across the firm, scaling for construction, right? Positions to originate, develop, and operate an HPC platform at scale, which is all fine and dandy there. I'm happy to see that happening as well. And then you have, right, Cipher continues to execute on strategy, AWS, HPC lease, upsize lease and additional financing at Barber Lake, $2 billion financing, $1.4 billion financing expansion beyond Texas. They acquired Ulysses, a 200 megawatt site in Ohio for future data center development there. So that puts them in the PJM market as well. Long-term contracts, we talked about that, 600 megawatts, contracted revenue of 9.3 billion over the next 10 to 15 years. Annualized, average annualized NOI, 669 million there. And then long-term leases and contracted cash flow, AWS Fluid Stack as well going into 2035, right? 2026, they're going to be a little bit light on it because they're expecting to get this stuff done by the end of Q3 into Q4, I believe, right? And then 2027 is when the revenue really starts to pump up there. And as they continue to get more deals, that should also increase in time. All right, and then Bitcoin mining exit strategy here. So transitioning from Bitcoin mining to HPC, sale of joint venture sites. We talked about that yesterday. I was happy to see that. They sell 1,166 Bitcoin being strategically managed down right now. Retrofit Black Pearl from Bitcoin mining to HPC, which is great. Odessa, flexibility to continue mining through expiration of PPA in July of 2027 while evaluating potential conversion to HPC. So they do have that potentially to mine there, especially since they have a really, really good cost on electricity there. So you might as well do it while you don't have a customer there. If you do get a customer for it, at that point, they'll be probably completely out of Bitcoin mining here. So total operating hash rate, they were at 23.6, reflects decommissioning of rigs at Black Pearl and divestiture of joint ventures sites, Alvarez, Bear, and Chief. So they're now down to 11.6 exahash. They have been selling some equipment as well. That is in the financial statements also. But here's our current portfolio. We talked about this many, many times here. Barber Lake construction update. Things are progressing nicely. That is a huge space there. It's a different build out compared to what IREN is doing, at least right now at their Childress site. This is massive compared to what IREN's doing. These kind of much narrower buildings and putting the equipment next to those buildings. So it's a little bit different setup here, but this is massive. Yeah, that is a massive site. Blackboro transition overview, right? That's going to be for AWS here. Lease start date is October 2026. Like I said, end of Q3, beginning of Q4 there, more or less. That's going to generate a lot of revenue for them going forward, which is going to be great. And I mean, you can read all the rest of the stuff here. Development pipeline, I thought this was also interesting here. So now you have Stingray, Reveal, Ulysses, McLennan, Mikeska, Colchis. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. But you got 100 megawatts, 70, 250, or 500 megawatts, 500 megawatts, and 1 gigawatt basically there. Got a bunch of sites here in Texas and Ohio as well. So that's good. Total pipeline is now looking at 2.5 gigawatts total there going forward, 2028, 2029. And then we could be also 2030 plus Barber Lake, which is 500 megawatts there on top of that as well. So a lot of growth here still happening for Cipher, which is why I'm happy to be still invested in them, even though we've had a massive downturn in not only them, but everybody else. Bought some about 2-3 weeks ago, a little bit more, added to my position there. happy to have done that, and we'll continue to hold on to this for as long as I can. Like I've told you guys before, I will have to sell a little bit to fund, Uncle Sam. I got to pay Uncle Sam a little bit here in the coming month or two. And then also to finish out the basement here, I'm going to pull out, maybe 10, 20, 30,000 out of my portfolio just to get this stuff done and over with, because my wife's starting to get on me to get it finished up. Okay? Happy wife, happy life, as they say. All right, let's get into Cipher really quick here. We won't dive too deep into it. I'll just point some things out. Obviously, there were a lot of changes here in Q4 with all the convertible notes and all that stuff that's being added to the balance sheet there. But as far as hash rate, I definitely need to get that down to 11 exahash. May even completely, they're not reporting their monthly updates anymore. So I'm going to probably revamp this similar to what we have done here with probably Nimbus and IREN as well. But we're looking at the quarterly results more so on these guys here and also their megawatts, trying to track that as best we can. So we'll do that, right? We do the same thing for IREN. IREN's a little bit more mixed here. But we'll probably change IREN over to more Nimbus style as well, where we have quarterly results on all of the stuff here going back 2 years as well. All right. So that's kind of the plan going forward here as we transition some of these Bitcoin miners into AI compute companies going forward. But down here, here's what we have here. So revenue came in at 60 million, right? Like they said in Q4. I was off by a little bit. I was at 62 something million on them. So I was off by 2 million something. We kind of knew that was going to be happening here. I've talked about it for the past probably, 2 months or so, that the revenues for Q4 are not going to be great for these companies here because Bitcoin price went down. Network hash rate also went up. So we knew the revenues weren't going to be great. Plus, we knew that they weren't going to be generating revenues from their lease of HPCI data centers going, at least this, in Q4 for sure. Some of them might be getting into Q1, Q2, and then Q3 for sure on a lot of these guys here. They're going to be start generating revenue there. Last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation stayed pretty close in line where it was the year, quarter prior, 34.45 million there. Cost to mine 1 Bitcoin went up a little bit here, not bad though, 43.6 thousand to mine Bitcoin overall on average. Bitcoin quarterly mined here down, obviously. Network hash rate increased. That's the result there. They didn't grow their hash rate. That's going to happen there. So they were at 555 based on what I could calculate on them. Debt to equity is still really high here right now because of the convertible notes here. So 4.13 current ratio, higher is better. That's still pretty good overall. Total current assets 2.6 billion, and then total current liabilities at 699. So that's good there. Going down here into all of this stuff here. Let's take a look at. Let me see. Why didn't I pull this in? I should have pulled this in. Nope. Stock-based compensation. I think they put it in for the full year. Was it for the full year? Okay. I missed that. I will update this before I get this updated to the Patreon members there. So we'll take a look at that here. But revenues here, 59. General administrative was kind of high, right? 44.9 million. That's double from where it was in Q3. I'm guessing there were some bonuses put into that. Possibly also some stock-based compensation in there. So that jumped up to 75% of their revenues. Not great. We need that to come down. Don't like seeing that. I don't love seeing that, actually. I hate seeing that. I'd like to see that below 10% on all these guys here going forward. A lot of these guys were getting down to that or working towards that, but Bitcoin obviously fell in price and that didn't help out. So there's that. Shares increased a little bit as well to 405 million now at the time of report. Prior was 395 million, so about 10 million shares. So 2.54% dilution. Not bad at all. That's actually pretty good overall. Assets, we saw a huge increase in that to 2.6 billion from 1.4 billion. Big increase on that was the restricted cash current, 1.7 billion on top of that. And we had cash and cash equivalents come down about half of where it was the prior quarter. So combine that, we're up about $1.2 billion there. On that, total assets here, what else increased? Restricted cash non-current was 275 million. Big changes here. If I see it, intangible asset net went up to 77 from 9.4, and that's about it. Derivative asset actually came down to 22 from 121, but overall, total assets went up to 4.29 billion compared to 2.8. That's a nice increase there. Liabilities also changed here a little bit, 689 from 570. Big change on that was the finance lease liability went up to 90 million from 37 million, and accounts payable went up to 40 million from 12 million. Other than that, things were pretty in line overall. Then other total current liabilities here, long-term borrowings went up to 2.7 billion. That's from all the convertible notes. And that got us up to 3.4 billion here from 2.5. Things still look pretty good though overall. we know that the liability there is for, excuse me, building out the data centers. They will be generating revenue on that here by the end of the year, which is fine. Revenues, we talked about that as well. We talked about also general administrative was up quite a bit there. Why do I have 40 million up top? I'm probably including a couple of things here. 40 million depreciation, which is, what am I including there? Hold on. Let's take a look here at this one. General administrative, what are we including in that? General administrative and compensation benefits. Okay, so that includes compensation benefits. Down here, if we look at the actual numbers here, see, general administrative went up 2 million, but okay, a big portion of that was compensation and benefits. That went up to 34 million from 14 million, so basically 20 million increase on top of it. Don't love seeing that. End of the year bonuses, okay, fine, but still. Maybe they also reached some, what's the word I'm looking for? Milestones, right? They reached some of those, and maybe at that point they triggered some stocks being issued and things like that. What else do we have here that was kind of interesting on top of it all? Gains from Bitcoin, they didn't have any, they lost it. Obviously, they continued to hodl there, so FSB impact was impacted on that. Other gains, 170 million there. I'm not sure what that was from. We'll have to look into it as a little bit more there. And yeah, but overall, the big thing here was the total cost of operating expenses went up to 360 million from 109 million. I think that is mainly from, well, bonuses there. Gains on fair value Bitcoin, that obviously took them quite a bit up as well. But that was definitely quite a bit higher there. What else do we have here? I think that's it that kind of stood out for me. Other expenses was up quite a bit there, 410 million as well, from 3 million, and that's about it. 33 million. Interest expense went up quite a bit to 33 million as well, and that's about it. So for the year, they were down $2.50 per EPS. For the quarter, I'm not sure exactly where they came in, depending on how they calculated the shares outstanding or the average shares outstanding. If we use the same number that we had here, we might be able to figure this out. Let me see. I'd probably have to do this, but it'll definitely be a negative at that point. But it'd probably be a little bit less than the 822. So we're looking at maybe $2 something. I don't know, somewhere around there. Without minus depreciation comprehensive income, based on the numbers, we're looking at $1.79, somewhere around there. It's average, or not average, just estimated on this stuff. So kind of came in where we thought things were going to come in, or at least where I thought things were going to come in because of everything that's been changing here in the last quarter for them. The good news is they are rebranding. They are going full force into AI data centers provider there, which for the next couple of years should be really, really good for them. After that, we'll have to see how data centers in space impact all the stuff down here. If there's, I'm sure there's going to be still a need down here, but maybe not as much as we currently need right now to build this stuff out. But we'll definitely cover it at that point. Right now, I think the next 2 to 3, maybe even 5 years, this is a really, really good time for these companies, especially Cipher as well. So happy about it. Not too concerned about it. Happy to hold on to it a little bit longer. I think we will go up higher from there. The good thing is I'll be able to, well, maybe not a good thing, but won't have to track this stuff anymore here. The different JVs as well, Upper Bear and Chief, right? Trying to figure all this stuff out. That's going to make my work a little bit easier. And we'll just cover, obviously, when they do report something as far as newsworthy. All right, that is it. And we're running a poll right now on the comment side of things here on YouTube. And that's the question, whether Bitcoin has bottomed out. 51% of you still believe that it has not. Okay, so we'll see. It's 50-50 right now. It's kind of split. I think it has. You guys, a little bit more of you think it hasn't. We'll see where we're going to end up at here. And I got to take a sip of water. Excuse me. Okay. The interesting thing will be to see if which data center provider will start to build out their own power plants. That'll be interesting to, going forward. Right now, a lot of these guys have already interconnects signed and everything else, so they don't really have to do that. I think maybe the bigger guys like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, they might go that route. Not sure how long of a time span it's going to take for them to build those out, right? So if they try to go for it now, will it take them 5 years to do it, or will it take them 10 years to build out a power plant, right? Depending on the power plant they're building out. So I think the time scale there is still important, and that's why I still think that the next 3 to 5 years are still going to be really good for these guys here. All right, as always, spreadsheets will be available to Patreon members. The link for that is down in the description, as always. A couple bucks a month, and greatly appreciate all the support that I get from you guys there. It helps to allow me to do this, right? Because obviously if I was doing this for free, my wife would probably wring my neck. So it does help out a little bit. It helps to pay for the bills for electricity, some of the stuff here, and yeah, it does help. So I greatly appreciate you guys there. All right, that is it. Let's get into the Q&A here, see what you guys have to say on this stuff. Anything else that you might be pondering, wondering, questioning. Let's take a look at what we got here. All right. Let's see. Okay, I already talked to John Kurtz. Roger said, Jane Street, the one behind Luna crash is behind the crash too. This crash too. They are desperate. I don't know if they're desperate. They're opportunistic, right? If they can move the market, they're going to move the market for their benefit. They don't really care what happens to anybody else. It's all about them, right? Neil says, to the moon, maybe. SK, there is some news about Canon with Cipher. Is this bullish for Canon? What price target do you see for Canon? I don't know. We talked about this yesterday, right? The news came out, I think, yesterday for them that Canon is purchasing the portion of the JV that Cipher had, which was 49% of the JV with, I think, I'm drawing a blank on the other company name there, but I'm not going to speculate. But they do get like 4.4 exahash of hash rate out of that. They're paying about 40 million around that in stock to Cipher. It's locked up for 6 months. Cipher can't do anything with it until 6 months are over with. The miners there are a little bit older. They're, 25, 23 joules per terahash, I believe. So they're a little bit older. They're like the previous generation of miners. They can obviously put in new ones because Canon obviously makes ASICs. So that would be a good thing going forward for them. Should obviously lower costs and everything else, make it more efficient, which would be great. But again, with the JV out of the debt, I think that's pretty low cost electricity there. So I think that's going to be pretty good for them going forward. And I think it was a pretty good deal for Canon to get access to more megawatts. As far as how much of an impact it's going to have on the stock price, I don't know, to be honest with you. Canon, I've been talking about Canon here for probably the last 2-3 years or so. It has not only not performed nowhere near as well as Bitcoin has, but it hasn't done anywhere near like some of these other miners have done here. I don't know if it's because it's, Singapore based, I think it is. I don't know if that's the reason behind it or what. I don't know. I don't know how well it could do. Could it, I think Bitcoin goes up in value. I think that one will follow it. Probably won't outperform it. Could be wrong on that, but I don't think it will outperform Bitcoin. But at least it will follow it to a certain extent where it goes, double or something like that, because it was obviously higher priced here in the last year as well. It's come down like everything else here. Let's see, SK has what will be your new price target post earnings for Cipher? Oh, we forgot to talk about that. Let me see here. For Cipher, I updated the information that I do have here for right now for them. Currently, they're targeting 660 million annual run rate. So that's going to be more into next year than this year. This year, it's going to be pretty flat here. But based on that, and if they can get more deals going forward as well, I'm in between 22.48 and 33.72. They're at $17.12. So I think they could at least double from here where they are. I know some of them at much higher price targets at 53 for the high, 18 on the low end side of things. So I'm kind of in between there. Big thing that's going to drive the price here is deals. If they get more deals with other counterparties for the megawatts that they do have available at their sites that do have available, that's going to drive the stock up more. And at that point, that's also going to obviously impact the annual run rate for them, which then will probably drive up the stock price going forward. So I think they're undervalued here right now. They should be at least probably a double from where they are, and then maybe not even higher. But as deals come in, they'll be valued higher. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot to punch that in. Okay, going back here. Neil, question, any news with the Clarity Act? They're still trying to get that hammered out before the end of the month here. I think Trump has set a deadline for it for March 1st. So not much time left. We have, 3 days left? Something like that. Bevney saying NVIDIA earnings tomorrow. Okay, that's going to be interesting to see what that comes out. If they beat again and provide bullish guidance going forward, things are going to rally. Possibly. Ryan says, wishful thinking this is the bottom, but it's a good place to buy. Okay. So you think it might go down a little bit. You might be right. I could be wrong, but man, everything else is just screaming like it's way oversold here. Maybe we bounce from there. Fairfax, thank you so much for the thumbs up there. Kevin, the only way Bitcoin has bottomed is stocks only go up from here. That's not likely. We may have a rotation though, right, where the stocks go down and Bitcoin goes up. Not saying that's going to happen here, but who knows? Let's see. James asks, is Mara buy the dip? I think Mara has been beaten down tremendously, where it's their valuation on Bitcoin, what they hodl right now, does not reflect it in the stock price or the market capitalization there. So I do think it's way, way down from where it probably should be valued at. I think it should be valued at least probably around $20 or something like that. Them buying, how do you pronounce that? I've seen it, Enchion or something like that. Can't pronounce that. A new company that they bought a majority stake in, 64%, I think. That is a good thing for them in Europe. It'll be interesting to see how well they do on that side of things, and we'll get more details on that as time progresses here in the next quarter or two. We'll see what actually that's providing to them. But yeah, I think they are way undervalued, just in my opinion. Jay, does it feel like the banks are transitioning more into blockchain technology part than the actual value of cryptocurrencies? Thoughts? I think the banks are waiting for Clarity Act to be passed. I mean, that's kind of what we've been hearing in the street and on Twitter or on X. That if that gets passed, then the floodgates are going to open up for the banks to get into it. And yeah, so maybe. Andrea says, I hope you are right, Seb. On Bitcoin, I'm guessing that Bitcoin has bottomed out there. Yeah, I hope so. I'm right too. I mean, to me, it just looks like we've bottomed out. Could be wrong, but I think we have. John, Yahoo Finance, that's where I keep track of my investments. Okay. Ryan, what is the best bang for your buck right now, in your opinion? Right now, I still think it's possibly, oh man, I would say probably IREN still, along with Cleanspark. Bitfarms is one of those that's kind of like, I love what they've been doing here. We'll see if they can execute it and get a deal. If they can get a deal, the stock's going to go up nicely as well. So maybe for the bang for the buck might be Bitfarms and maybe like BitDeer, right? BitDeer's been beaten down like crazy here. If they can execute on their AI as well, those guys might do very well. Cleanspark, I think, should be higher from where it's at right now. And then if they get a deal, that thing can go up, excuse me, 3 to 4x easily. IREN, same thing, right? That thing's been beaten down, not as much as others, but it has been beaten down. And that thing should be probably north of $100 as well. And if they get another deal or something like that, that's up to the raises. So a lot of these guys could do very well. It's just who's going to do better? Hard to tell right now. Okay. Let's see. Drago says, Cipher has been stuck in the 13 to 19 range for a bit. Well, a lot of these guys have been. Sheath Banks report next week, I think. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what kind of trouble they're in potentially. I've been hearing some rumblings that, what is it, the car deficiency or car loan deficiencies are up. What else have I been hearing on that? Just that, I think, what was it, the bonds also are causing him some pain maybe. And then Michael, last one here. I bought PD that's so oversold that beat earnings every earnings report last year, so oversold. That is a pinch play with 2 black bands, so tight with P of 3.99 with upside to 818 to 10. Okay, thanks for sharing on that one. And then we got, let's see, one more coming in here from Bevney. Bevney says following star. Not sure what you mean by that. But right now, looking at the poll here, we got 56%, 57% of you thinking that we have not bottomed out. Okay, interesting. You guys want to share your reasons why you think we have not bottomed out with the rest of us? Bevney says, read the top. Read the top, Bevney. Okay, let me go back up. Read the top. Like read the top of your comments? Or did I miss something? Maybe I missed something. Yeah. All right. No more questions, comments, or concerns. We're going to call it a day. Yeah, today was a great day. We need a lot more of those days to get back up to the previous highs that we had last year in October. But we'll get there eventually. Now, whether it's going to be the next week or two, I doubt it. Whether it's going to be the next 2 to 3 quarters, I think so. maybe 4 quarters even, but I think we'll eventually get there as well, and maybe beyond that. Big thing that's going to be driving the space for these guys is going to be AI deals with hyperscalers or even enterprise customers, anything like that. That's going to drive them up higher. So I'm not too concerned about it here. They do have the megawatts. They do have the prowess to build out also. So yeah, not concerned right now. Great buying opportunity if you're able to buy in at the lows here recently. Not sure if we're going to get any lower lows. Would hope not, but you never know. All right, but that's it. Thank you all so much for coming in. Hope you all have a great, what's tomorrow? Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. Hope you guys have a wonderful mid-week there. And thank you so much for coming in. Love you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Until then.